So we have a couple of people on this side as well.
Good morning. My name is Carrie Jones, and I'm a direct descendant of the Sandhill Lenape Indians from New Jersey. And this is amazing to me, and I'm asking for help. I'm asking for emails and phone numbers because where I live at, my family owned over 1,800 acres of property, full neighborhoods, property on our beach, and there is nothing, basically, to say we were there. I'm in court right now fighting for acres of my family's property that is a cemetery, Indian burial ground that's been in my family since 1886. And to be fighting with these same people over this property now, listening to you talk about places and this building is historic and that, they have basically wiped out everything. Do we have a history? Yes. Told at Monmouth University, Rutgers, they have history of my family going back, saying that we are the originals of this place when Verrazano and Henry Hudson first came there. They met my ancestors. And you talk about gentrification, we have $1 million homes around our property. So all of that 1,800 acres is now down to about 22 acres of property that is not even visible from the street. I've gone to the NAACP, I've gone to the Urban League, and it wasn't until my cousin Norris and my chief got together, and now I have the CIPR helping me, and this is amazing. But I am indigenous African American, because there's no way it could be vice versa, because when whoever came here, they met my family. That's who I am. So when this came about, and I'm hearing the avenue you're going, you're talking culture. Let's expose the culture and tell the stories. We have the stories and the culture, but there's nothing we can look at and say, it was there, because it's all different. They do stuff like this. They take a whole street, 17 plots of property that my great-grandmother left to us, and they turn it into Wampum Park and never paid us a dime for it. They have soldiers' crosses on it, and they're all white soldiers that fought in World War I, the Korean War, World War II. My uncle that grew up on that street was a corporal in the Korean War. How can this be? So the resources that you guys are using, the people that you go to make this right, this is something we definitely need to do, because my family, the Reeves and the Richardsons, built this whole Monmouth County. And there is nothing other than stuff you can read in history books. And now that the family is waking up, that we can sit back and tell. They named streets after us, but there's nothing on this street when we had 20 mansions. Uncles building houses, 10-room houses for every child that he had. We have an Episcopal church where our family went over to England to a burnt out black church and brought the cross back. In 1847, we donated every piece of glass in the church, and aunts played the organs there for 35 years. Not one black person in the church right now. So gentrification, like he said, what do you say, Norris? We're the rocks that they couldn't get rid of, because that's the family last name, Rock. And it is very disturbing to see that this has happened, but now that we're here, our family had the biggest strawberries, the biggest blueberries. His grandfathers ran the first black newspaper, and there was a lot of history of strife in the family, where people just disappeared, they were murdered, and then we go back to the stories told about our family, and none of it's true. It was just done to divide us. Oh, this uncle had the property, and they sold it. When we found out, it was nothing but the city and their National Conservative Federation that came in claiming that they were going to take all of this and make it historic, and all they did was steal it from us, buy it from somebody, the lawyers, buy it from my aunt's lawyers. They took this property, one property, in 1986, and then wrote her will, giving it to us in 1988 before she died, and it was already sold. $2.7 million in 1986. And we're fighting to get it back right now. The city's gonna make it right because they know. I gave them the deeds, I showed them all the proof, and we're just waiting to figure it out. But this is a lot, And a lot of these families, when you know that you're indigenous and you can't trace it back to who you belong to, trust me, they had property, they had land, they had deeds, because the deeds and stuff came in the early 1800s. And that's what happened. My grandmother owned 17 pieces of property. It was 160 acres. And by the time they came in and zoned it up, they forged her signature. They added her cousins to these papers when she was the only one and her husband in a will for this property to go to. But because they knew it was a family thing, they put everybody's name on it. So when you talk about this culture and history, in the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C., these same people have their artifacts, their pictures, their history of them is in Washington, but you can't find it when you're in my city. The history of them is in Neptune and Heritage House in New Jersey. You can't find it in that city. So I'm asking and applauding you for everything you've done, but I need to start doing this kind of thing in my community, because it definitely, if culture is the way we're gonna do it, we don't even have a Juneteenth. They refuse to do it. And our city, Long Branch, got one of the biggest beaches. I live 2 blocks from the Atlantic Ocean, where we have to pay to get on. When Juneteenth comes, they shut down the whole Broadway, they block off every parking lot, and they dare you to come there. They don't want you there. And this is where I grew up. My brother from the same place went to Princeton University with 13 scholarships. Gives away a scholarship every year away in his name to our school. And our family is not represented at all. So when this is over, I would like to meet with somebody. Maybe we can exchange numbers or emails, because I need help to get something like this started. The program that you said you're involved with, the diversity and economic, we don't have that either. We don't have that. When I'm looking at TV and now they got commercials in Spanish and other languages, how does that benefit me? Where's the African language? Where's the indigenous language? That is very troublesome, and we need to start doing this, because my family has a history and we do have a culture. They have peace pipes, we have everything, quilts, and it's not represented. So I applaud you for everything you're doing. I appreciate it, and I'm looking for help.
Thanks, sis. Just can I say something really quick? So it starts with you.
Yes.
Because this is happening in every state.
Yes.
We're running into this, and there's a major housing crisis everywhere. But if I can leave you with this, Roland Martin, do you know Roland Martin? Well, anyway, what he did is he said in his community, they didn't have, some of the street lights were out, they didn't have some street signs, they had city council people though. And the community was just raggedy. Mm-hmm. But what he said, his mother and a group of friends did, they got together, they formed a committee, and they made sure they found out what the city council's responsibility was, what the local representative and the senator, and they pulled the community together, and they made sure that particular city got everything it needed. So they began to hold people accountable. But they did that because they came together.
Right.
You know, and they understood what they could do and what they couldn't do. What is the role of a city council person? What is the role of a state representative? And all those things. So, and I hear your problems. We hear these stories all the time. And like you said, these are stories that we have to live with. We see the indigenous, the lands that have been stolen and lied and said we signed stuff over. And we never, I mean, there is no proof to half of this stuff. But when you begin to form a group in your community, whether it's family or friends or people in that community, and you begin to know what you can do, and you bring together this power and this unit to be able to move things forward. Because you'll have to pressure your local politicians to get some of these things fixed. It's going to be really tough on your own, if that helps any.
Yes, thanks.